Hello. I suppose now I'm coming at you at my most real. Researching the bakla prompted in me a lot of feelings about my own lived experience with gender and the ongoing battle that my expression is. Often, gender expression and orientation are conflated, that they're seen as a very linear pattern, that one's biological sex, one's gender identity, and one's desire orientation are predictable. But what I mean to say is that my own experience parallels that of the bakla in many ways, in that the way I sometimes express my gender physically, through glamour, makeup, aesthetic choices, often informs how others respond to me. And at my most real, stripped of all of those feminine tropes and feminine artifacts, I'm read as straight or conforming and normal. But to my mind, there's nothing terribly normal or innate about masculinity. It's just as constructed as femininity, just as performative as gender, all gender. In my research, I found that the bakla are typically divided into three core categories. There are those that are read as transsexual, bisexual, and cross-dressing. But there's a fourth category that's not often talked about, called the paminta, which is the masculine bakla. And I use all of these quotes because I use the terms masculinity and femininity from a modern Western perspective, not in the way that I define them. But this category of bakla still performs femininity aesthetically, but sexually operates as the dominant and socially operates as the aggressor. And there's not much discourse, I would argue, due to a fear that this model unpacks masculinity and exposes it as performative, because if one can embody both a high degree of femininity, perhaps aesthetically, behaviorally, but still identify with maleness and masculinity, then what is masculinity? Ultimately, I have a sense that there's a greater westernization as opposed to globalization occurring in a world of increasing transnational relationships. And in some research I'm drawing from, once proud bakla who cross-dressed, worked as parlorista in beauty salons, spoke sword speak, which is a native bakla language. There is no pride, and what was once deemed deviant in the most progressive of ways is now unfashionable and not Western enough. I think it's disheartening that there's not enough awareness, mutual exclusivity of identity, and I can only hope that in an increasingly globalized world, that is changing.